Well, we made a chili, and I want to tell you something. I've only given this recipe to one person. Her son, who was about 50 years old, ate some of our chili, and he has bothered her to death for a couple of years trying to get the recipe. So I gave it to her, and I swore that she made her swear that she wouldn't give it to anybody. I don't want y'all to give the recipe to anybody either, and I don't even want y'all to make it, because as soon as you taste this chili, you'll give the recipe to everybody, and I won't be able to win the contest anymore. But that's the problem with making really great chili. This recipe is made to make 36 servings. We're cutting it in half. For this recipe, I'd need 6 tablespoons of Crisco or butter. We're doing it 3 of butter and 3 of Crisco. It's going to take celery, onions, dry ingredients of spices and flour, salt, pepper, cumin, 2 cans of diced tomatoes, the big cans, 1 can of stewed tomatoes, 1 can of tomato paste, 2 cans of kidney beans. We use 1 of light and 1 of dark, some ketchup, and some mustard, and some sugar. So I'm going to get this stuff sauteing. We have to do the celery first because it takes the longest to cook down, and we'll add the onions to it, and I'll be back with you in a little bit. I left out one of the biggest ingredients, the beef. This is an eye around with all the fat cut off of it. It weighed 2.9 pounds, and that's just about enough for this because the beef is called for 6 pounds in the big recipe, and this will be half. And that's been ground. We have a KitchenAid with a meat grinder attachment, and we ground all that up so it's all meat, almost no fat. And that's starting to melt. Be back with you in a bit. After the celery sauteed for about 10-12 minutes, I put the onions in. They just started sauteing. You need to get these all translucent. The celery won't be, but the onions will. And once this gets to the point where we don't want it to cook anymore, whoops, I will put all the ground beef in it and all the dry ingredients and keep stirring until all the meat is done. I used the bowl on that KitchenAid to catch the ground beef that I ground up from the eye around, and I put it in here and I sprinkled 1/4 of the dry ingredients over it and stirred it up, then another 1/4 and stirred it, another 1/4 and stirred it. Here's the last 1/4. Then I will stir this up until it's mostly done. It doesn't matter if it's a little bit pink, but I just want to have most of it cooked. And by doing the dry ingredients that way, all the meat will get a little bit, and rather than some of the meat gets a lot. Back in a bit. And here's about 5-6 minutes later. You can see that all the meat is cooked. It's not pink. That could be slight little pieces, that doesn't matter. Now what you're going to do is stop the meat from cooking. So there's 1 big can of diced tomatoes, another big can of diced tomatoes, a can of stewed tomatoes, and I'm going to put the camera down because I have to put the tomato paste in there, and I've got both ends cut so I can push it out. If you cut both ends off the tomato can, a paste can, and leave it there, and then pull the lids off and the bottom off, you can generally just shake it and it'll slide right out. Now because that is a concentrate, we're going to put a 1/2 cup of hot water, and then we're going to put 3/4 of a cup of sugar. And we're going to stir this all up and put the lid on it and let it simmer. We're going to bring this to a boil before it simmers, and we put 1.5 cups of hot water in this right now, and that's the way we like it. If you like it real thick, you can use less water at this point. Okay, then we need 1/3 of a cup of ketchup and 1/3 of a cup of mustard. That's about 1/3. And we will stir this up. It's about the right ingredients because it's generally just about this amount in it. And then we're going to bring this to a boil and we're going to stir it a little bit because we got sugar and all in it. And we don't want anything to stick to the bottom. This is a heavy pot, so it usually doesn't stick. And you're probably saying, what are you going to do with all the beans? This one's almost full. When I cut this camera off, I'm going to put it in a bigger pot. But the bigger pot is tall and narrow, and it's hard to saute everything at the beginning of it. So now this just has to come to a boil and simmer for an hour. Back in a bit. This is going to be our dinner. Alright, we had to bring it to a slow boil. We only have three more things to add to this, and it's just getting to be a slow boil. The recipe would call for 3/4 of a cup of cheese. I'm cutting it down from a cup and a half, and this is a little more than that, but and this is extra sharp cheese, but you want to use cheddar cheese. Sharp cheddar cheese. Now we use cheddar sharp and extra sharp. And then all you have to do is put this on simmer. I've had it on about 7 on this electric eye. And I've kept stirring it the whole time because it will stick to the bottom. And you just stir this up as the electric eye cools down until all the cheese is melted and all dispersed in the chili. And you can see it because the tomato will turn sort of a creamy color. I always use the old cans to put my tools in on the stove. And that's on simmer. Put that on there. Pop 1 hour on the old timer. Hit the button. We'll be back in an hour. Add the beans and the parsley and it'll be done. Well, the last few things to do, it's simmered for about 1 hour and 5 minutes, is I need about 3/4 of a tablespoon of parsley. And you always put parsley in last. You should never cook parsley for long periods of time. And then I'm going to move this camera because these beans they settle in the bottom. And it's really gluppy, and I'm going to make sure that you can see what I'm doing. So you get a strainer and dump them in it. See all that in the bottom of that can? You don't want that in your chili. And the best way you can get it out is to rinse the beans off. And you will see the stuff come out the bottom. It's still brown and yucky. And once you rinse these off and the others off, put it in the soup and bring it to a boil and it's ready to eat. I don't know if you do any painting or household projects around your house, but these cans are enamel coated inside and they make great paint cans. We always save them and rinse them out. Now I can grip this and use a brush and just paint whatever I want with it instead of holding a gallon can. I know the lighting's not that good in here. Now all we have to do is raise the temperature from the simmer. Stir all these beans into it really good. And as soon as it comes to a boil, it is ready to eat, and we will have dinner. It's 8 o'clock here in Central Virginia, and we'll be ready for dinner. Thanks for watching.